The town's fear. Ravenwood was a town of small, winding streets, quaint houses, and a sense of ordinary calm. Children used to run barefoot across lawns, shopkeepers would greet each customer with a smile, and nights were punctuated only by the distant calls of owls. But over the past year, the ordinary peace had dissolved into a pervasive sense of dread. Women were vanishing. First one, then another, then more, leaving families in panic and authorities baffled. The disappearance of Emily Carter, a bright young college student, marked the first true sign that something dark had taken root in the town. When her body was found in an abandoned warehouse at the edge of town, the details stunned even the most hardened officers. Her body had been arranged as if posed, her lips frozen in a grotesque smile, eyes staring blankly, with crimson symbols decorating the surrounding walls. The discovery shattered the fragile sense of security Ravenwood had once held. Residents locked their doors and barred their windows. Parents refused to let daughters walk alone after sunset. Streets that once rang with laughter were now eerily empty, the occasional passing car cutting through an unnatural silence. The wind carried a chill, whispering threats that only the imagination could conjure. Shadows seemed to stretch longer than they should, moving unnaturally in the glow of flickering streetlights. Ravenwood had become a town consumed by fear, its heartbeat echoing the anxiety of its inhabitants. Emily Carter was cautious, aware of her surroundings, but that night, caution was not enough. Walking home from the library, she felt the chill of October air on her skin. Wet leaves clung to the soles of her shoes, the streetlights flickered overhead, and shadows twisted unnaturally along the pavement. Emily's instincts screamed something was wrong, but the moment passed, replaced by the illusion of safety in familiar surroundings. Her disappearance left an immediate void. Days later, her body was discovered hidden behind crates in an abandoned warehouse. The scene was meticulously arranged. Emily's body was posed unnaturally, her eyes wide open, staring into the void. Symbols painted in blood sprawled across walls, creating a chaotic yet strangely intentional design. Investigators could not comprehend the precision or intent behind the arrangement. It was not a crime of passion. It was an act of methodical artistry, a ritualistic obsession manifested in flesh. The town trembled with horror. Every alley, every empty street, every flickering lamp became a source of paranoia. Mothers whispered warnings to daughters, fathers walked streets with flashlights. Emily's name became synonymous with terror, a chilling reminder that no one in Ravenwood was truly safe. Whispers began circulating about a figure, the Shadow Man. Tall, silent, always cloaked in darkness, he moved unnoticed. Some claimed his face was a pale mask, others said it was unnaturally smooth, expressionless. Regardless, his presence terrified all who glimpsed him, even briefly. He studied his victims from afar, learning their habits and routines, striking when they were most vulnerable. No evidence ever remained. No footprints, fingerprints, or witnesses. His killings were precise, each victim an object of ritual. His obsession manifested in arrangements, trophies, and the meticulous placement of symbols. The town felt his presence everywhere, shadows that lingered too long, doors that creaked ominously, and the feeling of being watched. The Shadow Man was patient, a predator moving among his prey with calculated silence. Detective Sarah Miller and her partner, James Holloway, were assigned to the case. The crime scenes offered no clear clues, only the victims, arranged meticulously, and the blood-painted symbols. Sarah spent sleepless nights studying maps, photos, and crime boards, connecting red strings between victims, locations, and disappearance times. Every discovery led to more questions. The town grew anxious, expecting more disappearances. Every day brought new reports of strange sightings, shadows moving where no one should be, and faint cries heard in empty streets. Sarah felt the pressure mounting. She knew the killer's patience was a weapon, and he was always one step ahead. 2 more young women vanished within weeks. One, a nurse named Claire, never made it home from her shift. Another, a librarian, disappeared while walking to a friend's apartment. Each crime scene carried the same precision: symbols in blood, posed bodies, and an eerie calm. Surveillance cameras showed nothing unusual, only shadows where they shouldn't have been. Fear gripped Ravenwood. The streets emptied earlier, lights flickered ominously, and every resident became suspicious of strangers, and even of neighbors. The town had transformed into a place where every shadow was a potential threat, and every whisper hinted at impending doom. Rachel, a young woman, narrowly escaped the Shadow Man's clutches. She ran barefoot through dense forest paths, mud clinging to her torn clothes, fear dictating every step. Branches lashed her arms, the wind tore through the trees with an almost sentient chill. She glimpsed chains hanging from trees, symbols painted on stones, and faint figures moving in darkness. The terror was tangible, a living presence following her heartbeat. She stumbled into a gas station hours later, shaking, soaked, barely able to speak. Her eyes were wide with horror, confirming the town's worst fears. The Shadow Man had chosen her deliberately, studying her movements, and she had survived only by chance. Daniel Crow, the Shadow Man, was invisible to society. A night shift worker, unnoticeable, blending seamlessly into normal life. But in his mind, he was a predator. Since childhood, he had been fascinated by fear, silence, and control. Each trophy, a locket, a hair strand, a photo, was a whispered voice to him, encouraging his obsession. His childhood trauma and isolation molded him into a patient, calculating killer who treated terror as art and victims as his canvas. Detectives focused on the forested outskirts. Every search felt like walking into a trap. Tracks were faint, clues subtle, and shadows seemed to follow each step. Branches twisted like claws, leaves whispered with the wind, and the forest itself seemed complicit. Each disappearance heightened tension, driving both the town and the detectives toward fear and obsession. Sarah walked near the forest alone, fog thickening. Every snap of a twig, every rustle, sent shivers down her spine. Shapes moved in the corner of her vision. She sensed eyes watching, calculating. A sudden shift startled her, just a branch falling, but it felt like an ambush. The Shadow Man's patience and cunning were palpable. Deep in the forest, an abandoned cabin revealed his obsessions. Chains hung from walls, blood-stained symbols covered surfaces, trophies displayed meticulously. Candlelight flickered, casting grotesque shadows. The air reeked of decay, damp wood, and something darker. Every item told a story, each victim frozen in a ritualistic nightmare. The last victim was chosen with surgical precision. She vanished from her home without trace. Discovered in the lair, her body arranged with a precision surpassing previous victims. The pattern, the artistry, and the cruelty unnerved even seasoned detectives. The town's terror had been perfected in this final act. Detectives cornered him near the cabin. Candlelight flickered through cracks, shadows stretching. He moved silently, deadly, a predator in human form. The struggle revealed his meticulous nature, every motion calculated, every escape route planned. Fear and tension reached a peak as the Shadow Man demonstrated why he had evaded capture for so long. The Shadow Man vanished, leaving detectives with clues, trophies, symbols. Though captured or not, his influence lingered. The forest seemed to swallow his presence, yet his essence haunted Ravenwood. Shadows stretched, fear lingered, and the town realized some predators could never truly be caught. Ravenwood attempted to return to normalcy. Shops reopened, streets filled cautiously, residents tried to resume life. But the psychological scars remained. Mothers whispered warnings, daughters slept with lights on, detectives could not shake memories. Fear had become permanent, etched into the town's identity. The Shadow Man's legend spread beyond Ravenwood. Nearby towns reported similar disappearances. Though he may have been caught, his terror persisted. Shadows lengthened at night, winds whispered, and all knew predators like him never vanish. They wait, watch, and ensure fear never sleeps.